Don't let Malört be the only thing you think of for Jeppson's. What they're doing with bourbon right now is like exceptional. It's definitely worth trying, especially for the value price. Like, you're really not going to find anything as creative, as affordable, as approachable as Jeppson's bourbon.
Dang, I really appreciate that. We recently were invited to check out CH Distillery's production site located in the backyard of downtown Chicago. The building is covered by beautiful murals of graffiti from friends of the Jeppson's bourbon master blender Tyrus. This would set the tone for our entire visit. Art, passion, friendship, and community, all coming together under one roof. We've been fans of their bourbon for years and have noticed a lot of dissenting opinions online, so we were eager to see what's behind the doors to set the record straight about Jeppson's bourbon once and for all.
We're here with Bunny. Bunny, can you tell us a little bit of what you do here at CH Distillery?
Well, I'm on the sales team. I'm definitely our spirit animal in the company.
Love that.
I play the mom role sometimes. I'm the worst influence. I'm a professional drinker, but I'm an Illinois territory manager. I share that responsibility with my sales partner, Ben.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for taking some time to be with us today. So tell us, when did CH first open this facility?
So this facility was built and opened in 2018. Our original distillery on Randolph Street opened in 2013. And now that's a pretty expensive backdrop for a bar now. For that equipment doesn't get used quite as much as this one does, which is used daily.
Yeah, and the scale and size of this place is really impressive.
It's huge.
50,000 square feet, absolutely.
It's a lot, and very, very high ceilings.
Very high ceilings and very efficient compared to our own situation over on Randolph Street.
Yes, absolutely. I think that also this has definitely shown that there is a market for Chicago and liquor, and just making something new and different that no one else has done throughout the U.S.
Well, definitely. I mean, when we acquired the brand of Jeppson's, we needed a bigger boat, that's for sure. Well, you never know how much alcohol you're going to need to make at any given time.
Yeah, especially with an 8-column still, or 8-tier column still over there. That's one of the largest ones that we've seen.
Yeah.
That can seriously turn out an impressive amount of Jeppson's.
4 stories of deliciousness.
That's the good tagline for Jeppson's.
Yes.
All right, Bunny, next question. When did Jeppson start making bourbon?
Jeppson's, we acquired the brand of Jeppson's. We decided with some barrels that we already had from some brokers that because it wasn't grain to glass like our other products, we should put the Jeppson's name on it. So that happened in 2020. We began the bourbon program. Tyrus blended those initial barrels to come up with our JB 100, the Jeppson's Bourbon 100. And then obviously shortly after, the single barrel program came from that. We're pretty happy with how that's going.
Nice. Yeah, really, really good flavor. Everything that we've tried so far, we really enjoy. 2020 was definitely a weird year for everyone, but thankfully you guys created something beautiful from it.
Well, it was supposed to come out on April 1st.
Cool.
I think the joke ended up to be on us because nobody was allowed to drink anyway. In addition, they thought there was Malört in our bourbon, which there is not. There's no Malört in our bourbon.
There's no Malört in the bourbon.
In the bourbon.
No Malört. No
Malört in the bourbon. Just a straight bourbon whiskey. Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky.
So you mentioned that you source from Indiana and Kentucky. Can you tell us a little bit more about your mash bill?
The mash bill is, I'd say, a low-high rye for straight bourbon whiskey, 21% rye, 4% barley, 75% corn. Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Oh, a nice blend of all of them.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
So, Bonnie, next question for you. Malört is a polarizing spirit. How do you balance that reputation against the production of your bourbons?
Well, that's an interesting question. Malört, sometimes we regard as our 90-year-old stepchild. Our bourbon is something we are also very proud of. they're totally two different worlds. As I was saying before, there's no Malört in our bourbon. I know people get confused about that sometimes, but it is not the truth. Even though the Jeppson's name is on both of those bottles, it's just to separate it from the CH line that we work with here. But they have nothing really to do with each other, except for maybe that they're badass and in their respective ways. I don't know. I just kind of think of them as two different things completely. The bourbon program is really refined and beautiful, and Malört is Malört.
It helps them equally. They have their own benefits of each other.
That's right.
Well, talking about the stepchild, I think the old running joke is you love them equally in different ways.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, we've definitely become fans of the bourbon over the last couple of years. I think the first time we tried it was like 2021.
I think so, yeah.
We just picked it up kind of on a whim, and we're really impressed. We would love to help maybe redefine the reputation of Jeppson's to give it a little bit more life just outside of what people think they know about it. And in a minute, we're going to be tasting some of the stuff and hopefully seeing if we can pull something straight out of the barrel to see if we can really prove that there's no Malört, it's not blended, it's just delicious from start to finish.
Yeah. My other question too is, Malört has been a classic Chicago brand. Is the bourbon distributed throughout like the U.S.? Are there specific markets that it's in right now?
Indeed, from Seattle, Colorado to D.C., Florida. So it's out there in the world. And the single barrel program, we can send samples wherever they need to go. And Tyrus is happy to do that.
Just any barrel that you can pinpoint, just pick it out and he'll send it to you?
He'll send you some samples, and if you don't like those, he'll send you some more.
There you go.
Yeah, from what we hear, and we'll meet Tyrus in a minute here, we hear he's very generous with pinpointing what somebody likes, no matter how long it takes.
Absolutely. He doesn't want anyone to settle for something that they don't like. He will continue drilling barrels until you find something that you love. Joke.
Bunny, I have one more question for you, because it seems like you're super passionate about the brand, and I think that this whole experience has been super, super eye-opening for myself and hopefully for Chris too and our watchers. But what's the one thing that you enjoy the most working here?
I enjoy everything about my job. I really do. I feel really lucky to be with such a fun brand, with such an awesome team of people to work with. Our lead drinker, Tremaine, he started something tremendous, and I hope that we're doing a good job of taking care of it.
How do I get the job of lead drinker in a company?
I think you work in finance for about 30 years and save all your money.
I'll just work at bars still.
Oh, and you drink a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm already halfway there.
Thank you so much, buddy. We appreciate all your time, and thank you for taking us through this amazing distillery. I think this has been such a fun experience, and I'm excited to talk to Tyrus and open some up the barrels.
So you guys are going to love Tyrus, and we can't wait for you to try some of our bourbon next door.
I'm not a prideful person, but I do take pride in what I release. I always wanted to get into this industry. I didn't know if that was ever going to be a possibility. So homebrewed in my garage, was not good at it. For my friends that are in the industry now that know that I introduced them, they're like, no, you weren't good. But that gave me the intro to get me interested, and I was actually brewing with my buddy Kevin McDonald, who helped open CH with our owners. And a spot had opened up while we were brewing one night, and I go, dude, get me in. I don't know what it's gonna take, but get my foot in the door, I'll work my way up. I just need a way in. And this was pre-2020, 2015 is when I started. And back then, craft alcohol was just a thing. You needed to know people to get into the industry. It was very difficult.
So challenging.
I wanted to brew beer initially, but just being in the industry was something that I wanted to do. So luckily the spot opened up, and that night he's like, all right, well, you come in and see how it is. And within 2 weeks I had a job at Ch Distillery.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been 9 years, going on 9 years now. July 16th, 2015 was my starting date.
That's right around the corner for your anniversary.
Crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you became the master blender here?
Master blender is a term I think that is used a little too loosely. I had no training in blending, no training in blending batches of bourbon and tasting and stuff. I kind of just did it as I did my own single barrel tastings or tasting other bottles of other distilleries' products. I had no mentor, I had no teacher, so I would never consider myself a master. We wanted to start a bourbon line, and I knew that I drank the most bourbon out of anyone. And I was like, well, I'll do this.
Please,
and they're like, all right, well, go ahead. But with all that, it wasn't just me drinking shelfy bourbons. I've been very fortunate to have friends that have very extensive collections of bourbon, and I was able to learn intricacies and how different things affect profiles of bourbon. But it's just, yeah, go drink with people. This is why I'm in the industry. Meet new people. That's how I have the knowledge that I do, is just from friends that were more knowledgeable than me.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And kind of at like the end of it all, when you really boil it down to what life is, like we are the collective effort of everyone that we know.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had a really good support system to
Yeah.
expose you to a lot of things. And as a result, like you grew with it as they were growing with you.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird for me when they ask me questions now where I'm like, I don't know. I learned from you. I don't really know.
Who's becoming the master?
Yeah.
They're looking to you for answers when you owe it kind of to them.
Yeah, it has been interesting and a lot of fun and really rewarding. Really rewarding.
All right, so tell us about your process for both selecting and blending.
This is something that I wish that I learned from someone in a sense, because I have, in all of these barrels that we have here, I taste them one by one and I mark it yes or no. And I don't know, I wish I knew what other distilleries did in those terms, because there may be more efficient ways to do this. But for me, I'll pick a batch of barrels and I'll taste through every single one of them and mark them yes or no. If it passes that yes or no, then I'll start taking notes about their characteristic and what I want. I'll start thinking about what I want as the final product, and then start breaking those yeses down to yeses or nos. And then if I don't like that final blend, then I'll start trying to find single barrels that will add to the characteristic of more towards what I want as a final product.
How many are actual no's? How many barrels?
45%.
Wow.
And when I say yeses or nos, that doesn't mean that they're honey barrels and not usable barrels. It's just in terms of blending, you may not necessarily want a very, very oaky barrel because that may skew your final product. So I try to choose things more middle of the road, but not bad by any means, but has character, has sweetness, and they all play into each other, where one is not so polarizing and will take over or ruin the blend of 30 to 60 barrels, depending on how big we're making our batches.
The one benefit of kind of like building your own framework for doing this is you haven't had anybody tell you like it has to be a certain way. So you take on the more art approach than the science approach of how to do this, which we really enjoy. We find that sometimes like the best end result.
This is what I enjoy. I mean, if I'm being told it needs to fall into these specific parameters, you're taking my passion and turning it into a job, and then
It's boring.
Yes.
Then you're just outputting a product and not really thinking about it.
100%. I'm very fortunate enough to be trusted with my process. And that process changes for me personally, just because we have a very small team.
5 people, right, for your production?
5 to 7 people on any given day, and we're a small establishment.
Impressive. And you said you put out like how many pallets on like a good day?
On a day, in terms of like Malört, we could pump out 7 to 10 pallets a day.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's just with us. There's only going up from here. Yeah.
And how do you decide what kind of like barrel finishes you do? I notice you do a lot of things that are like ahead of the trend. Like Albarana was ahead of the trend, and I mean, port finish has always been around, but that's been more like Scotch. How do you decide what?
So going back with the master blender, master distiller thing. Cigar blend. Everyone knows cigar blend, and there are many places that use that same term, cigar blend. And it's like, no, Nancy taught us. She gave us the blueprint, and that's my first finishes or iterations were essentially the 3 barrels that she was using, and you just take stuff that other people have done. And you do it not thinking that you're going to do it better, but you know this works.
Sure, to like borrow from the greatness of others in your own community.
100%. It's been done for a reason. And Ambiron is the new thing coming up. I've got some stuff in maple barrels. I have some stuff in vanilla barrels.
We'd definitely love to try some of those.
Yes.
If you're willing.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, like I'm not willing to rush those products out until I'm happy with them.
Especially with a market that's saturated with like a ton of experimental finishes.
Yeah, surely.
And like even kind of circling back to the maple one, we were kind of talking about this off camera, like how maple is kind of like emerging now as like the new big finish.
Yeah.
And like some are a little oversaturated, some are a little understated. We were gracious enough to have you give us a taste of it, and like we really enjoyed it. We thought that it was like very well done. I would say it's definitely comparable to like, or maybe even slightly surpassing the Widow Jane Decadence as like kind of the gold standard for maple. So if you guys are really interested in like that or the maple finishes, this one is like so much more on the palate on the very back end of the finish, not so much like the overwhelming maple flavor on the nose, and like not an overwhelming amount on the first impression. And that's something that we enjoy, and it truly shows that like you are honing in on your craft, and you know, like you figured out like when it's ready, it's ready.
Yeah. Yes. And this is why I do what I do. This is like, it's a job a lot of the times for anyone. I don't care what you do. Anyone that does anything, even if it's your passion, it's a job a lot of times. This is what keeps me going. Where it's like, oh, you actually understand. You get what I'm trying to go for. And I appreciate that so much.
All right, Tyrus, I got one last question for you.
Yeah.
This is definitely going to be a little bit of a hot button and loaded question.
Okay.
If there was one thing that you could tell the average bourbon drinker that is on the fence about your bourbon from Jeppson's to get them to try it and get rid of the idea of what Malört is in their mind, what would you tell them?
I would say stay off the internet. Honestly.
Yeah, screen time should always be limited, for sure.
The groups that have been choosing single barrels, the stores that have been choosing single barrels, I have not bought bourbon in close to 5 years, because the stuff that we're doing is awesome. It truly is.
Yeah, absolutely.
The single barrels, who we source from is the same that a lot of other distilleries source from.
So we have like Green River.
We have Green River and MGP, Kentucky and Indiana. Try things.
Yeah.
Try things. Don't chase the hype.
Yeah.
Don't chase the hype. It's not worth it.
Especially at like an approachable price point, getting the same stock that other people are using, and using even like the higher rye mash bills for MGP.
Yes.
Like you're offering the same product that other people are offering at a fraction of the price, but to us it tastes a lot more delicious and it feels a lot more personal.
Yes, 100%. And I'm not throwing shade at any other place. I just know what we get it for. Tastes that good. And I'm not gonna steer anyone away. I'm not gonna tell someone to buy something just because of the back end. I'm not gonna tell someone to not buy something because it doesn't benefit me. If I like it, I'm gonna tell you to buy it. It doesn't matter what it costs or who it came from or blah, blah, blah. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter to me. And that's how we go about our business. Is I'll be honest with you. We will taste through 4 barrels or 34 barrels. Doesn't matter. We'll find something that you like, and I'm not gonna stop until we do.
Well, we are definitely fortunate that you do all the hard work of tasting through the large number of barrels to find the ones that are just right. We're definitely a little envious. It would definitely be a fun.
No need to be by any means.
I'm sure it's a fun time, give or take a large amount of cheeseburgers at the end of the day. But yeah, this has been great to talk to you and hang out with both you and Bunny. You heard it straight from the blender himself. Just go and give it a try. At the end of the day,
that's all I ask.
Yeah, the juice is only as good as the story crammed inside the bottle, and what we have here is a really, really humble story that is definitely worth trying. If not at a bar, just bring it home. Share it with friends, share it with loved ones, and most importantly, just give it a shot.
If you dislike it, email me at Tyrus, TYRUS.CHDistillery@gmail.com.
Please be kind, but also be
No,
honest.
I don't even care. Just be honest.
Yeah.
If you don't like something, I do listen.
Yeah.
I truly do. And that's why I take pride in what I do.
And that is why we're very happy to talk to you.
Thank you, Tyrus.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's been a
Thank you so much.
We couldn't help but admire the murals as we left the facility, thinking about how Jeppson's bourbon has captured the art of humility and Midwestern hospitality in each bottle by putting passion before profits and quality into everything that they do.